Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Roberto Corona. I'm an Italian anthroposopher and astrologer, and in this video we're going to talk about the upcoming full moon in Libra on April 2nd. That is going to be the first full moon of the new astrological year, which determines the date of Easter and above all has the unique feature of closely involving the non-periodic comet C2026A1, also known as the Easter comet. Now, this moon officially begins the spring season, and according to anthroposophy, spring is ruled by the forces of Archangel Raphael. And here you can see a beautiful painting by Pietro Perugino picturing Raphael. So we had the sun ingress into Aries, and this marks the beginning of the new astrological year. And this means that this moon is also the first full moon of the new astrological year. Now, in particular, regarding the spiritual forces of Aries, you can see here indicated the virtue to meditate on given by Rudolf Steiner. That is, devotion becomes the power of sacrifice, and this is the meditation for specifically the zodiac sign of Aries. Now, regarding Comet A1, here you can see the position of the comet during the full moon in Libra. The comet will be at 20 degrees and 23 minutes Aries, very close to the sun. In fact, the comet will reach perihelion, that is the point of maximum proximity to the sun, on April 4, Holy Saturday, the date when the comet will be super close to the sun, and to the point that most likely the comet is going to dissolve and merge with the sun. But to be sure, we will have to check out its progresses in the next few days. However, in general, we can say that this is a non-periodic comet, and this is important because Rudolf Steiner indicated that these category of comets, they have a specific task, that is to cleanse and purify the negative astral forces from that region of the sky that they transit through for our benefit. So this comet represents a help coming from the spiritual world, cleaning a region that is very, very polluted. In fact, we want to remember that following the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, a lot happened. So this region really needed some cleansing, some purification. And here we can see basically the hands of the gods working for help. Okay, let's take a look at the calendar to see what changed from the last new moon on March 19. On March 20th, the sun entered Aries, so we had the spring equinox, and on the same day, Mercury finally turned direct again. Very quickly, we also want to know the conjunction of the sun with Neptune and Saturn respectively. So they're going to happen on March 22nd, Sun in conjunction with Neptune, and on March 25 with Saturn. Finally, some good news. On March 30th, Venus is going to enter Taurus. So this is important because Venus, she is the ruler of Libra, so she rules the full moon that we're going to talk about, and it is a very, very good sign, a very good indication that she is a benefic planet and a very dignified one in her nocturnal domicile. Here we have April's events, and as you can see, the full moon occurs on April 2nd, or Holy Thursday, and this is important, as we're going to note. But this full moon basically is leading us towards Easter, that this year falls on April 5. So let's tackle the chart of the full moon in Libra. The full moon can be found at 12 degrees and 21 minutes Libra, shining in the starry image of the Virgin. And finally, after a whole winter, characterized by heavy stelliums, heavy heaps of planets, we notice that this moon breaks this trend. We have only 3 planets only in Aries this time. However, we want to point out that the next 2 moons will be very hard in this regard, since they will both feature a stellium in Aries, and they are both going to be ruled by Mars, which in turn, Mars, their ruler, will be in conjunction with Saturn. That is a very hard configuration. So basically, this moon represents a break in this trend. So let's try to make the most out of it. Now, the moon, again, is ruled by Venus, the ruler of Libra, and as we said, Venus is in Taurus in her nocturnal domicile. Again, this is excellent. But in terms of aspects, Venus, she is down here, is making a square aspect with Pluto, which represents the main tension in the chart. And on the other side, as you can see, we have the opposition between the luminaries. This is a full moon closed by a T-square configuration. So we have Jupiter in Cancer making two square aspects towards both the luminaries. But in turn, Jupiter is also making a trine with Mercury in Pisces, Mercury that has turned direct again. So let's now tackle the meanings of the chart starting from the physical signification. From a physical standpoint, a full moon in Libra is all about manifesting, because it is a full moon, some form of balance represented, of course, by Libra. And since Venus is making a square with Pluto in Aquarius, it is a balance that seeks to restore a form of social justice, because Aquarius is all about social justice. And in particular, I would say international law. That is definitely a Libra signification. Now, more specifically, Venus in Taurus is about issues related to our individual resources, money, as well as our property and our personal boundaries in general. So these boundary issues are definitely confirmed by the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, because Saturn is the lord of boundaries and Neptune tries to dissolve them. So we have issues with them. And these issues, they could also become real estate issues given the square of Jupiter in Cancer. Here it is. As well as from a collective point of view, issues related to the homeland, because Cancer represents not only real estate from a collective perspective, but also our homeland, our nation. Basically, Venus will do everything she can to start a diplomatic phase, taking also advantage of the fact that Mercury, although still severely debilitated in Pisces, has at least turned direct and is making a trine with Jupiter, the ruler of Pisces, which supports it. Let's also remember that this full moon represents a last chance to get back on track very dangerous situations that with the next two moons ruled by Mars could definitely explode. From a soul perspective, the full moon in Libra is all about an attempt to bring harmony into relationships and our social life, especially with a beautiful Venus in Taurus. So on the one hand, Jupiter squares, from this perspective, speaks of social tension related to our sense of belonging to a group, primarily, of course, family, but not only that, because Cancer can represent, any group that makes us feel protected, comfortable, and loved. On the other hand, we have the square between Venus in Taurus and Pluto in Aquarius that is asking us to find balance, compromise between emotional bonds represented by Venus and our individual freedom represented by Aquarius. But Pluto in Aquarius in particular refers to silence, omissions, or hidden dynamics through which we manage to gain space, to gain personal freedom represented by Aquarius. And this is something that, might happen. So we don't talk or we retreat, we don't say what we are thinking about a situation, so we feel more protected and we feel that we gain space and we feel freer of the situation. But the trine between Jupiter and Mercury invites us to talk about it and to address the issue through dialogue rather than preferring these sort of unclear dynamics. From a spiritual perspective, the full moon shines in the stereo image of the Virgin up here, and in particular the central part of the Virgin. And here we have the Virgin holding in her hands the bread and wine of the Eucharist that are represented by two stars that are Vindemiatrix and Spica. Vindemiatrix is the grape harvester linked to grapes and therefore to wine. And on the other hand, we have Spica, the ear of wheat, linked to the bread. Now, this full moon, incidentally, this year, falls on Holy Thursday, the day of the Last Supper, when the rite of the Eucharist itself was inaugurated by Christ. And on top of that, during the original Holy Thursday, the moon was indeed in the constellation of Virgo. So this year we have a perfect match. Now, from this perspective, the constellation of Virgo represents the mysteries of the matter, a word that comes from mater, like mother. So here we are dealing with the mysteries of the mother substance of all existence. This is an indication of the process of transubstantiation, or the complete spiritualization of matter itself. And this connection to the Eucharist and the Christ is also confirmed by Venus. Venus that is located in Taurus, yes, but in the constellation of Aries. And the constellation of Aries belongs to Christ because it is the constellation of the mystical Lamb. Now, today, the overlap between tropical Taurus and this constellation can be understood through the mystery of the appearance of Christ in the etheric of the earth. In fact, Steiner indicates that Christ, after the event of Golgotha, has become the new spirit of the earth, and through the Christ impulse that we can find in the etheric, so in the world of nature in Taurus, right? Through this impulse, we can have a total transformation and spiritualization of matter. That is, the spiritualization of the physical body, which is transformed into the resurrection body, a process that occurs in the human being precisely through the mystery of the Eucharist. Now, a couple of more considerations from the heliocentric perspective. We had already discussed in the previous video about the conjunction between heliocentric Jupiter and the north node of Saturn, with the transition from the sacrifice of the Father to the sacrifice of the Son. Now, this very beautiful dynamic that leads us towards Easter is confirmed by the fact that now, from the Sun's perspective, the Earth is in conjunction precisely to the aphelion of Jupiter. Now, we're looking at the Earth from the Sun's perspective, and the Earth is moving. And the Earth reached this point, the aphelion of Jupiter, that is a special point belonging to the sphere of wisdom. Now, Jupiter's aphelion is Jupiter's point of maximum distance and independence from the Sun, and it represents that form of wisdom that frees itself from the sphere of the Sun. So it represents human wisdom that becomes free. It becomes spiritualized. So you can think about human thinking that undergo through a process of spiritualization, and through this process of freeing human thinking, we lead towards freedom. So we have here this process, this sacrifice, this spiritualization of matter during Easter that creates new impulses towards freedom conquered through the spiritualization of thinking. As always, thanks for watching. If you want to support my work, please like this video, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell not to miss out on future astrological insights. I am Roberto Corona. See you in the next video, and happy Easter, everyone.